Welcome to Basically a Therapist, but without the degree. I am your host, Lauren Larson, and I'm just so honored that you're here with me in episode 35. And this particular episode is special because this one is just for the girls. I was praying about this episode yesterday and asking God, what does episode 35 look like? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to even talk about? And I kind of sat with it for a while. I was walking around my house. I was just kind of going about my life, going about my routine. And then I felt the phrase "for the girls" come over me. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, that's not a phrase that I typically think or typically say. So I was like, okay, God, what is "for the girls" look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And then I just started getting these different lessons, these different pieces of advice that I would want girls to know. And part of that is I have a heart for wanting to teach younger people how to be healthy at an earlier age, because I feel like there are just so many adults that are stumbling through life because nobody taught them a healthier way when they were younger. Nobody taught them healthy communication. Nobody taught them how to be in a healthy relationship. They never saw that example. And so they're just blindly going through life with little to no skills because nobody taught them. And so I want to take this time to teach the younger girls what I wish I would have known in my teenage years, and even into, younger than that. Part of the inspiration of this episode is my 8-year-old niece and what I would want her to know. Like a lot of these points, some of them, they're going to be too old for her, but most of the points here are things that she can learn now and that she can be bold and realize that her worth and her value is not held in anyone else's opinions. That it doesn't matter what anybody says or thinks about her, because you can't do anything with anybody else's opinion, right? Like, you can't cash it in, you can't pay your bills with it, you can't ride it to heaven. Like, you don't get to say, here, God, here's the opinion of so and so. Like, I'm not getting to heaven on your opinion. Nobody gets to heaven on the opinion of anybody else. And that's freeing. And I think the sooner that we wrap our identity in God and his opinion of us and how he stamps us as worthy and valuable, the more successful, the more confident, the healthier we're going to be in our lives. And so we're going to dive into this episode, and I'm excited. And I hope that this speaks to somebody, and I hope that you can share this with a teenager, a young adult, or you can use these points to even speak to your young daughter or niece or neighbor or sister, whomever. So number one, if you're dating, you do not need to give your body to a man for him to be interested in you, to keep him interested, or to have a healthy relationship. You do not need to give him your body. Like, your body is sacred, and it is not something to just be given. It is a gift that is given to him, and it's the last thing that you give him, and it's when you get married. Before that, a man of God, a healthy man, will not push you, will not pressure you, will not encourage you, will not create situations where that can happen. He will respect you. He will respect your body. And he will have boundaries around your physical intimacy in your relationship. I see so many girls, and it's starting younger and younger, where they just think that they need to give their body to a guy, to a kid, to a boy, to a man, to have any sort of value or worth. And that's just, it's a lie. It's a lie from the enemy. because you're leaving pieces of you with every single person. And there's only one person that deserves all of you, and that's your husband. Number 2, have high standards and low expectations. High standards. We are not accepting and allowing any type of behavior. Like, we're not desperate for people's attention. We're not desperate for people's likes. We're not desperate for people's acceptance. Like, we're not desperate for that. And so we have standards on what we allow, what type of behavior allow, how we allow people to speak to us. And we just have low expectations. Like, people are going to miss the mark, and that's okay. We get to choose and we get to determine their place in our life, if there is one. We get to determine our interaction with them and how often we interact with them, how much access they have to us. So we have high standards and low expectations. That way we're not disappointed. Be direct, be firm, and be assertive. I was never taught any of these things, but if I had been, I can't even imagine what my life would look like right now. I can't even imagine how differently my life would look. I grew up a people pleaser. I grew up believing that you had to do what people wanted to get their love, to get their acceptance. And that's a lie. That's just unhealthy, and it's not true. I think women are taught to cower. They're taught to not speak up, and they're taught to speak nicely and to be sweet and be soft, which I agree with to an extent. But women can be direct, and they can be firm, and they can be assertive too. Like, that's also a feminine thing. And they should be. We shouldn't be pushed around. We shouldn't be spoken over. We shouldn't be put down. None of those things. I think there's a beautiful way for women to be firm and direct and assertive while staying feminine. There's a beautiful way to do that. We don't need to come in like a wrecking ball. We don't need to be like a bull in a china shop. Like, we can be feminine and we can be direct and assertive. Teach your girls that. No means no. No is a whole sentence by itself. No period. The end. Other women are not our competition. We are not in competition with other women. We do not need to put people down or spitefully not celebrate other women who have what we want or are doing what we want to be doing. There is enough room at the table for all of us. We can celebrate them, we can support them, and still be doing our own thing, and still be working on us, and still be working on our own dreams. It's a both and, it's not an either or. There is room for her, there's room for you, there's room for me, there's room for us all. They are not your competition. Create a circle of women that are doing well. Learn from each other, grow from each other. Like, there are lessons that you can learn from them if you stop putting them down, if you stop thinking negatively about them. You're not in competition with anybody other than yourself. Your goal is to be better than you were yesterday, not than they are now. It's you v you. And it's just ugly, period. Ladies, the negative self-talk It's got to stop. Like, it's time to put an end to it. I hear so many women putting themselves down, whether it's about their physical appearance, their worth, their value. I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm not good enough, whatever it is. And are there things to work on? Sure, absolutely. We all can improve. But this is different. I'm talking about where you're constantly putting yourself down. You don't speak highly of yourself. You don't speak positively about yourself. You don't see yourself the way that God sees you. But we don't need to put ourselves down because we haven't arrived to a destination that we think we should be at. Like, rewrite the stories you're telling yourself. Would you want your daughter talking to herself the way that you talk to yourself? That's heavy because she's listening. She's watching you. She's hearing you. And when you say you're dumb, when you say you don't get it, when you say you'll never understand, or you're no good, or you're useless, or you're worthless, like, she's hearing you say that, and she thinks that that's normal. And then she's going to start thinking that about herself, and then she's going to start saying that about herself. It's got to stop. Because I promise you, that is not how God sees you at all. He would never say that you're worthless. He would never say that you're not good enough. He would never say that you're ugly, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're fat. Like, he doesn't say that. Because of Jesus and what Jesus did for us, we are blameless. We are perfect. We are worthy. We are spotless. And that's how God sees us. And it's time for us to be seeing ourselves the way that God sees us. Teach your daughter to see herself the way that God sees her. Speak the truths that God speaks over us. Let her meditate on that. Let her hear that. Let her believe that about herself. It's going to be way better than her believing anything else. Especially with this world. This world is wild, y'all. It is crazy. It is wild. And we are not, that's a whole other podcast episode. Yes, it is. Moving along, don't be a gossip. I don't know why this is such a thing for us women, but it's really gross. And I have been guilty of this. I still struggle with it sometimes. And sometimes it's hard to know, like, what's gossiping and what's not. But, like, when in doubt, don't do. Don't say. Don't be a gossip. We don't need to be sharing other people's business. It's just not our place. Do you know why? It's not our business. We don't need to be telling other people's stories for them. We are not their representative. And if this is the way that you have found yourself bonding with other women, with other girls, it's time to get a new group of people. Because you have a pretty toxic bond. Like, if you're bonding over talking about somebody else or putting them down and sharing their struggles and sharing what they're going through or sharing their secrets, that's not a healthy friend group. And if they're doing it about them, they're doing it about you. Guaranteed. If you're sharing your business with them, they're sharing your business with other people. What makes you the exception? Because of your tight bond over negatively putting down other people? Sorry, sis. It's a nar. A man does not define you. I see so many women on the hunt for a husband, on the hunt for a significant other. And I get it. We want to have that special someone that we share our lives with. Like, that's not abnormal. That's okay. But a man can and will never define you or fulfill you or determine your worth or your value. Like, he doesn't define who you are, especially if you're a child of God. Like, you're defined by God. A man is just a bonus. He's just an extra. Like, he's not going to fill the voids that maybe you're searching to fill. He'll probably really shine a light on those voids after a while. So I've talked about this in a previous episode, but you want to be whole and complete when you meet your husband. You're not trying to be fulfilled and completed by another human being. Like, it's just not going to work out for you. Get you a solid group of girlfriends. The ones that you can be silly with and immature with and laugh with and cry with and be real with and honest and speak the truth and have the truth spoken to you and build each other up and push each other to be better and call each other out in a kind and loving and respectful way. Like, get yourself a group of friends like that. It wasn't until within the last couple of years that I have been surrounded by a group of friends like that. It's been a rough road when it comes to the friendship category. And my life has just gotten so much better with them. It's fun. I feel mostly safe, but that's not their problem. That's a me issue. And it's just been amazing to really let loose, go play pickleball, go shop, talk about relationship issues, or make fun of each other, or just be dumb and silly and goofy together. Like, there is nothing like having that. Find you a solid group of friends and don't settle. Don't be desperate for friends. Like, if you don't have anybody right now and you're desperate for a friend, and so you get involved with a friend that's not good news, that's not a good influence, that is rude or mean or tears you down, like, that's not worth it. It's better to be alone than to be around that. Period. Your time will come. Your friends will come. Promise you. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and try. And that applies to so many different areas of life. Put yourself out there with your career. Put yourself out there with that idea that you have. Go after it. That dream that's on your heart, go after it. But do not let fear or the fear of failure or potentially making a mistake stop you from trying. You should try. And if it doesn't go right, try again. And if it doesn't go right, try again. Like, you're never going to start from ground zero, because you'll have the experience, the past experience that you just had. You'll have that to lean back on. You'll have that lesson. Never stop trying. Don't be scared. Go after it. This is something that I'm still dealing with at the age of 38. I have to combat that lie, that fear that I've lived with my whole life, that I have to do it perfectly, that I have to know everything before I do it. And this podcast has been what I've been doing messy. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just was told to go and I'm doing it. Like, I'm figuring it out as I go. And here we are, 35 episodes in, you know? I'll put that one last. The next one is be unapologetically you. Don't hide yourself. Don't shrink yourself. Don't lower yourself. Don't put yourself into a box to fit in to or to appease other people whose opinions of you don't matter, who have no effect on your worth or your value or you, anything, your identity, nothing. Like, be unapologetically you. We're all weird. We're all different. We all have our quirks. We all have our are little things. Like everybody has it. Just own it. Don't hide it. Don't shy away from it. Flaunt it. Put it out there. Life's too short to be shrinking yourself, to be lowering yourself, to be putting yourself in a box, or to be trying to be like somebody else. Like, what kind of life is that? Most of the time, people aren't even happy with their own selves. So, anyways, lastly, this is just a little bonus. And for the women that are probably mid to late 30s and above, you're probably going to laugh at this, but appreciate this body that you have while you have it. And I'm talking to my young adult and my teenagers. Appreciate the body that you have because it doesn't operate the same the older that you get. Like I used to be like this really fit, small person and I could eat whatever I wanted to. I could eat Taco Bell and Burger King and whatever. And I would never gain an ounce. And now I can eat healthy and I'm gaining weight. Your hormones change, your skin changes, your metabolism changes, your energy changes, it all changes. So just really enjoy your body as it is right now. Take good care of it, invest in it, work out, eat, but also enjoy a good old Taco Bell bean and cheese burrito for me with a Baja Blast. Like, wow. Just enjoy your body while you have it. You will never be this young again. That's all that I have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, like and share this episode, and I will see you next week. Bye. Yeah.